So welcome to our Course in Miracles, Living A Course in Miracles in Daily Life. And that's what this time together is about. And we hope that as you listen to this, you'll be able to connect to something that brings hope and healing and connection for you. So I will start. No one can withhold truth except from himself. Yet God will not refuse you the answer he gave. Ask then for what is yours, but which you did not make, and do not defend yourself against truth. You made the problem, and God has answered. Ask yourself, therefore, but one simple question. Do I want the problem, or do I want the answer? Decide for the answer, and you will have it, for you will see it as it is, and it is yours already. Wow, goodness. Let's stop there for a moment. Anyone have any thoughts about what I just read?
It just seems that we hide from the truth. Do I want the problem or do I want the answer? Our ego really can trick us or enable us into wrong thought patterns, habitual. It's fully loaded.
Also,
like mentality wants to keep us in that place of the problem. Like we're going to lose something if we don't have the problem.
We become really addicted to the problem.
And then sometimes we even make problems because we don't have any of that problem energy in our lives.
And how it's really amazing, though. It's beautiful and a great reminder, though, that God will not refuse us the answer he gave. So at any moment, we can ask, and we can have a new perception, because that's really what Course in Miracles is all about, right? It's helping us to have a new perception. It's a course in a new perception. And so at any moment, we can choose to see any situation differently. And the best thing for us to do is to say, I do not know what this means, and ask for our higher self to help us see the meaning. Because if we just say, oh, I don't know what this means, and then we bring the same ego construct, we're just going to see it in another egoic form or in another egoic way. So the opportunity for us and our birthright and our inheritance and what we really want is to not see the problem, but to always see the mind of God in every situation. What we really want is to elevate above the battlefield. So what does that mean in practical terms? What does that look like in a real life scenario?
What's coming to mind for me is the call we had with Dave Brisbane, I believe, who just described waking up mad. People who don't want to take accountability and do this work, you're going to wake up mad. Will be the least of your problems, really, when you're addicted to the problem. That victim mentality, which, is hard to shed. Talking to myself here, too. It's one of the reasons I keep showing up, because I don't want to show up as a victim with drama and that. No. So, yeah.
As you were speaking, Holly, it reminded me of the Sunday night blues. And it hasn't been that long ago I've even talked about this, that I sometimes will get the Sunday night blues because I don't want to show up to the first client I have Monday morning or whatever that looks like. So the Sunday night blues toward the dreaded Monday. And if I'm really honest with myself, what's happening for me is I'm making a decision, or my ego is making a decision to not adhere to one of my 3 basic core principles. So my big 3 for me that I have connected to, my purpose, why I've been on this planet, is to be a channel to eradicate physical and spiritual hunger, and to bring clarity to any situation, and to make the invisible visible. Those are my 3 pillars. So when I'm having Sunday night blues because I don't want to show up for a client on Monday morning, what my ego is telling me is, you don't really want to be a channel. So it's where the rubber meets the road. Do I want to be a channel so God can answer, or don't I? Or am I taking on I'm in my ego mind taking on the responsibility, like I need to solve something for someone, you know? So thank you for sharing that, Holly, because I just had an aha of how I don't need to have Sunday night blues anymore when I remember that I made a commitment to say that I will go wherever I'm led and say whatever I'm led to say to whomever I'm led to say it. So either I will or I won't. Either I'm committed or I'm not. And it's easier when I'm not the one doing the talking. Like Dave talked about too. I think he talked about this. He was on our Work With Me podcast for Roos Advisors. And he talked about how I think it's in the Franciscan, St. Francis of Assisi said, only speak when you can improve upon the silence. I'm not sure I can improve upon silence very often. Even as I'm saying it, I'm having this. Maybe we should just sit on this call and be quiet for an hour. You know, but my ego wants me to believe that I have a job to do, that my little s self has a job to do Monday morning. No, my big S self just needs to show up and be a channel for Holy Spirit to work through me, whatever role I'm filling in that moment. Whew. Veronica, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I really don't want to say anything because I'm in the battlefield. So, yeah. And I'm kind of just, I'm dumbfounded because I had like a couple of really good spiritual days with A Course in Miracles, and, you know, I felt this is it. I'm committed, I'm determined. And then, bam, I got blindsided. With my partner. We got into an argument and now we're not speaking. So I'm just taking it as, okay, I'm at a silent retreat. That's how I'm looking at it.
I love it.
It's a good thing. I don't have to talk to him. He doesn't have to talk to me till whenever. It's a silent retreat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Refreshing.
That's it. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of in the battlefield, but it's not like, you know, it's like, here we go again. It's nothing traumatic or unsettling. It's just like, here we go again, you know? Mm-hmm. Just when I thought like, this is it. I'm going to be committed. I'm feeling good. And 2 days in a row. And then just, like I said, just like sideswiped. Mm-hmm. Knocked out of the box.
I had a day like that last night too, Veronica.
Did you?
Yeah, I was just like out of nowhere. Like, wait, what just happened? You know?
Right. Exactly.
It's like, what just happened? And I guess for me, my growth is that until I can improve upon the silence, I shouldn't say anything, you know?
Right.
Like we talk about too, is Holly, what you say is, you know, the cost for my lack of peace is too high. I'm not willing to pay it. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So let's go one more paragraph. Who wants to read paragraph 5? You may complain.
I'll read.
Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth.
You may complain that this course is not sufficiently specific for you to understand and use. Yet perhaps you have not done what it specifically advocates. This is not a course in the play of ideas, but in their practical application. Nothing could be more specific than to be told that if you ask, you will receive. The Holy Spirit will answer every specific problem as long as you believe that problems are specific. His answer is both many and one, as long as you believe that the one is many. You may be afraid of his specificity for fear of what you think it will demand of you. Yet only by asking will you learn that nothing of God demands anything of you. God gives, does not take. When you refuse to ask, it is because you believe that asking is taking rather than sharing.
Have any of you ever been afraid to ask God because you were afraid that what was going to be required?
The answer would be tax.
What did you say,
I
Elizabeth?
think not to ask for help in general.
Yeah.
So that's like an issue with as far as my spirituality goes, because I can't want to be so independent and want to be one with God too at the same time, I don't think. I need to ask. And we need to know, right, that the answer is already there. The resolution is already available.
I wonder what is that part of us that doesn't want to ask for help?
Because you feel like it's taking, I think, like they said.
It's the authority problem.
Feel like you're going to cause a problem for somebody?
So if you
the authority problem that the Course talks about, right?
So for Elizabeth, what I hear you saying is that you're afraid to ask for help because you'll be taking away from someone else?
Yes, it's not a fear of asking for help, I don't think. It's like I think I know how to do whatever it is. I think that's a big part of it. And I don't think of asking for help because I don't feel like I need it, but I do.
And so then, Veronica, you were talking about the authority problem. So what's the authority problem in Course in Miracles?
Well, the way John explains it is kind of sort of like we don't want to give up control, and we're like, thanks God, I'll do it myself. And I think that's the whole reason for separation. The separation was the authority problem. Like we, wanted to step away, into the dream and see what it would be like without God. And now we have this issue with just giving him control. We feel like we're giving up, our authority, and we don't want to do that. It's like that John Mellon song, I fight authority and authority always wins. Did you hear that song?
I fought the law and the law wins.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
I fought the law and the law won. Oh, okay.
I fought the law.
Yeah, because if we ask for help, there's a part of us that believes that we would have to surrender our will and our ideas to somebody else. Right? So if I have an idea and I ask someone for their opinion or their help, namely God, then my idea would be discounted. And what does the Course teach us about ideas? Ideas are the only thing that can be given without taking away.
I thought love was given without taking away.
Both. An idea never leaves its source, and neither does love. So if you have an idea, no one can steal that idea from you. You don't become diminished by an idea because ideas, our creativity is innumerable. So the fact that we would believe that by asking for help, we would be giving up we're believing we're giving up our little a autonomy. And that's what we really don't want to do. We don't want to give up our little a autonomy to be part of the big A autonomy, the big A authority. Right?
True.
That's at the core of it, is when we really look at it, we can do this course, we can do these lessons. And when faced with it, what the real thing that we're afraid of is that we will give ourselves over to the care of God, and then we will be no more. We'll disappear. The disappearance of our universe, in the terms of Gary Renard. So you see how the ego keeps having us run around the track in different colors of raincoats, but all with the same issue. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move into the next part of our time together. And I thought it would be wonderful to have a question and answer time together tonight. And the question and answer time is, you'll ask a question and we'll share our experience, strength, and hope, not because we have the answer for anyone, but we'll hold a safe place for self-discovery. Big S, self-discovery. So I'm going to share an experience that I had. If you were on the call on Sunday, you heard me talk a little bit about this and what's happened since then. That was really a miracle or a change in perception for me. So on Saturday morning, I received an email from a client, and there was a lot of fear and concern in the email. And so I had a really incredible session with another client on Friday. And so my first thought was to reach out and offer something similar to the other client. And the other client texted me back and said, not really necessary, don't need that, thank you, etc. Actually, it was thank you, I don't need that, etc. And this all happened right after I had just done my 30 minutes of yoga. And that was a really powerful experience because I've done yoga before, but I really connected with it in a very different way than I ever had before. And part of it was a teacher showed up that I found on YouTube, excuse me, that helped me understand what the whole practice was about. And the connection of the physical with the spiritual, and how our bodies really can help us connect on a deeper spiritual level. So I've had this incredible yoga experience. And then I see this text come back, and I went into a tailspin. And the tailspin was, I felt a little upset that client didn't graciously receive my recommendation. I'm really honest with myself. And I didn't say anything about it for a while. I just kind of ruminated it in my mind. I didn't even talk to Mark about it, which is normally what I would do. And about 6 hours later, it took me, I pretty immediately, within about an hour, went to the Course in Miracles practice of, what is this for? Like, what's the lesson or the blessing for me? And it literally took me about 6 hours to come up with the lesson and the blessing, that I'm not responsible for anyone's journey except my own. And apparently this lesson showed up for me to show me where there's still an opportunity for me to correct my perception and to not have judgment and not have attachment to anything or anyone or a specific idea. So as the week has gone on, so I was at least able to get to that space. And then as the week wore on, so now it's actually seems like it's been a long time. It was only Saturday to Monday, because now we're just at Tuesday. So Monday night, my lesson yesterday, my lessons of, I'm in the review section of A Course in Miracles now. So my lesson was a review lesson yesterday. And that lesson yesterday, and today, is God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And the lessons yesterday was all things are echoes of the voice for God. So every situation, every circumstance, every person that we meet, there are echoes for God calling to us. And the question is, are we going to pick up the phone and answer? Or are we just going to keep in our, on the hamster wheel of denial and judgment? So then I had a little bit of a, like Veronica, what did you call it? A side swipe, or out of nowhere came another relationship. Another relationship.
Blind side.
Another blind side. So then last night I had another blind side. And my ego really I had a really good defense all ready and to line up and to go. And instead, I remembered that all things are echoes of the voice for God. So I wanted to be the voice for God. And I know for sure God wouldn't lash out and justify and have a defense ready. So I just stayed quiet. And then I went upstairs, and as we've talked about before, I've been reading Richard Rohr's book, The Universal Christ. So it's here, The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. And there's a section in there in The Universal Christ where he talks about the feminine incarnation. The feminine incarnation. And he talks about in here about how Mary is one example of God working through the feminine characteristic. Now we know from a spiritual perspective, there's not masculine or feminine, where it's all of us. It's all of it, right? But in this time, I needed some tenderness. And in Richard Rohr's book, The Universal Christ, he talks about how the Mary was an example of the feminine Christ mind playing out in real life before us. So I'd always thought about Mary as the mother of Jesus, and how, whether you believe literally or figuratively, certainly she birthed Christ, however that happened. But isn't it interesting that the Christ mind personified in Jesus, and that was his message, right? Jesus' message was to demonstrate in living human form the Christ mind as it had never been demonstrated before. So Mary births the living human example of the Christ mind, and through this, it was ushered in a deeper understanding of the Christ mind. So no wonder that in Catholicism, on some level, this had to be understood, that Mary ushered in, right, this demonstration. So, and then he goes on to talk about that Carl Jung was also talked about how there is a need within each of us to connect to that tenderness of the Christ mind, the compassion of the Christ mind. And it is so innate within us that we will search for it and hunger for it, and probably find lots of substitutions, lots of ways to try to fill that hole, to connect to that Christ mind, that part of us that is compassionate, that part of Christ that is compassionate, that part that is the tenderness with which all of us want to be encountered and treated. So he goes on to talk about that not only the feminine channel, but also the feminine receptivity. Compassion is always required whenever we need to be in a place of receptivity, rather than a place of speaking. Now we can also get to a place in our speaking where we can go and we can sink into that compassionate part of us. And in that compassion, even the words we speak will come across in a different way. They'll come across in an invitational, inviting, soothing way. It's also interesting. He talks about that whenever the earth is represented, it's called Mother Earth, that nurturing, nourishing, where all life comes from, we call Mother Earth. And that in all of this, also interesting that the female body is the body with which things are rebirthed, babies are born, things are, our human experience is birthed through the feminine. And so as I was studying that last night, I realized that one of the parts of me that has been very dominant and prominent throughout my life has been to attach more to this strong kind of fierce side. And there was something in me that was afraid to embrace the compassionate, the tenderness of the Christ mind. So what is this? What is this teeter-totter effect? And what I experienced last night, going again back to Saturday, was I was having an authority problem because I believed there was a part of me that needed to be the kind of more strict, firm, strong, instead of just accepting that everyone's going to find their way, whether they need to participate in a healing workshop or not, doesn't matter. Ultimately, my only responsibility is to bring compassion to every situation and acceptance to every situation. So the reason I share that is that Course in Miracles, scriptures, any of this, scriptural texts, Richard Rohr's book could be very ethereal and philosophical. At the end of the day, books are written, we share in oral traditions, we meet together like this so that our lives can be improved, so that we can have more peace and the kingdom of heaven can sit with us. So that's my example of me asking a question and it taking a few days for it to really come forth. But not only did I receive an answer, but I also received a new understanding of a way that I could be, and a way that I could be in the world, that I could be available, that would come from a much more compassionate place, and that I could honor the work that Mary did and the work that Jesus did to bring forth that Christ mind. So that's all I have to share. So would just be open to any thoughts that any of you have or any questions that you have at this time. Thank you for letting me share with you all.
What's coming to my mind is when I release willfulness, I win. And it's hard. It is, or ego tells us it's hard. But I find it challenging still to have compassion towards people when they're slighting us, or when we extend ourselves like you were doing with the client. Well, here's a way. I do that too a lot. I put myself out there, and here, you're complaining about this, here you go, this is what we're going to do, don't you want to fix it, don't you want to? And then it is hard for me to just build upon silence and not have to fix it and swoop in and take people at face value too, how they're showing up. Same thing, if someone's showing up not receptive, or like, just an example, this girl was, I had reached out to her, a friend, and she literally just shut me down in 2 seconds. Like, I am not in a space for this right now. I don't have the energy. She shut me down. My ego was hurt, and I didn't take it personally, kept it moving. Did a good job of that, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But then fast forward a few days later, when she's in that position, rather than remember that, what do? Go right back to the same fixer mode. Here we go, here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that all kind of boils down to just a need for validation and just really stepping into my truth. I am entitled to miracles, and just owning that, not having to fix it or just worry about myself, like you said. So that really resonates a lot. And that willfulness came up from my call with Earl. And if anyone's questioning, I literally had to ask him, what do you mean by willfulness, Earl? Please. I want to be right more than I want to be happy. So that one struck a chord too. So that's what I have on that. Willfulness is a big theme for me right now. Willfulness.
I know. I used to tell Arl, I would say, well, I want to be right and I want to be happy. And he said, well, then you better tune into the will of God. That's your, that's the only way that happens. And the will of God is never, the will of God is not, never, it will never make anybody else wrong. Elizabeth, you have something you want to share?
Like that to me, when I had a really horrible fight with my partner, Stephen, and I was sitting in my room trying to figure out what to do. And I guess, like they say, your wish is asking. Like, just wish for something, or desire is asking, because I didn't specifically, ask. And all of a sudden I just thought, well, if I want unconditional love from him, I have to show him unconditional love. So that made me get up and hug him and tell him I loved him. And that really, everything just turned around from there. Not that everything's perfect and we're never going to have a problem again, but that situation was really healed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, whatever we want for ourselves is what we can give. Whatever we want, we can give. And it is cyclical. It does come back to us. And in lesson 41 of Course in Miracles, in paragraph 5, it says, we understand that you do not believe all this. How could you? When the truth is hidden deep within under a heavy cloud of insane thoughts, dense and obscuring, yet representing all you see. So again, we're asked we're asking God to help us give a different perception, for us to help us see something differently. And until we have that divine help, it's a fool's errand, really.
That's why it felt so much like divine help, because my ego was like out of the way, Well, if I go to him and hug him and say, I love you no matter what, then I'm in a weakened position or something, But that was, it crossed my mind, but it didn't stop me. Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Elizabeth. And this is how we actually do this. This is how we can actually apply this. And by Elizabeth extending that compassion, that unconditional love, you felt the unconditional love that you are, because the unconditional love is always within us. It's not outside of us. So when we give that love, we're activating, that's like a miracle activator. We're activating unconditional love. And we're giving, and the fact that you're able to give it shows that you already have it, because you can't give what you don't have. So what you are asking for and what you need was already within you, and you demonstrating that to your husband and to yourself was bringing that to the relationship. It's very powerful. Thank you. Anybody else? Lesson 41, God goes with me wherever I go. Therefore, his love is with me wherever I go, in every circumstance and in every situation. And for me, I want more of that tenderness and that unconditional love. I want to really be the living example, just as Jesus was, of the Christ mind. So that when I look upon everyone and people look upon me, they remember the unconditional love that's within them. And they remember the Christ mind that is within them, that divine. What would our life be like what would our world be like today if every one of us looked on every one of us with the pure intention to help one another remember that we are complete and that the Christ mind lives within each of us. And we see the power, we see miracles happen, even our group, as small it is in numbers sometimes, miracles are happening and people are being healed. I'm having a different perception. I'm experiencing a different perception. I want to see it from a different perspective.
I said I had healed, just, I don't know exactly when this happened, but some more of my ill feelings toward my ex-husband. My daughter has a dog, our dog is really her dog. I gave her to her as a birthday present when she was 9. So she was going on vacation with her stepmother and her stepsisters. And her father asked her if he could take the dog while she was away, because he loves the dog, he adores the dog, So Stephen was a little bit like, I don't want him to take the dog. I love that dog. That's, feels like it's his dog. I mean, it's not, but so I just said, well, if you want to talk to Emily about it, that's fine, but I'm going to let her do whatever she wants. The dog is hers, and I trust my ex-husband, even though I don't have great feelings toward him. I do trust him with the dog. I know that he loves dogs, and he would take really wonderful care of it, Nellie. So over the weekend, we actually text messaged a little bit, me and him, my ex-husband, that is, about the dog. And I told him that I was really happy that my daughters now have 4 sisters. I said, who would have thought that, So I was really trying to show him acceptance and love, for his new family, which is, of course, you would think, and anybody would, that might be a sore spot for me. But I told him that Emily loves her stepmother and her stepsisters. And it's so cool that my daughters now have 4 sisters. Because I grew up with 3 sisters, so to me it's a little more meaningful than maybe an average person. That they have, my kids, I have 2 daughters, only 2 daughters. They each have 4 sisters.
Nice.
That is nice.
Yeah, when we're able to release our idea of how we think things should be. And, I go back often to the
always, sorry. Sometimes I think I don't think I should, but it crosses my mind that he should suffer. Like I had that feeling inside me, and it's healing, but.
Sure. Yeah, it's and when we're thinking about that someone else should suffer, what we're really doing is causing suffering for ourselves. And because we're assigning our peace and the love that's within us on the shoulders of somebody else. So we're handing over our peace and our unconditional love and the truth of who we are to another person. And it's a fool's game. It's a fool's errand, because it's not the truth, right? In the New Testament, Jesus said to Peter that if he could see with spiritual eyes what others miss because they're looking through their earthly eyes, that the kingdom of heaven, this is the principle upon which the kingdom of heaven is built. So we can take that same charge, that what we're being asked to do is to not see with our physical eyes, but actually to remember deep within us the eternal connection that we have with one another, and to see every situation from that eternal connectedness. And in this way, we heal thousands of years of pain. and thousands of episodes of suffering. when we can remember that truth. We have those holy instances. So
That's how you really forgive, right? I mean, that's how we can forgive and heal ourselves.
Yeah, because the opportunity is for us to forgive our misperception that we believed anything different than that. Yeah. All right. So let's just do takeaways. We're coming up to the end of our time. What was helpful for you tonight? Or a blessing you would like to share?
Well, for me, just that whole willfulness, it's come full circle. There's just, I'm realizing, I think that I'm so like evolved in this practice, but I'm really not as much as I think. And my willfulness attachment has led me to believe all of these crazy, crafty ego stories. And I have some imagination too. My need to be right, where I could just speak up and ask, or communicate. That where I can have a whole thing going on in my head with my partner and it could be so off from the truth, but I can't even just bring it up. So it's just a process of peeling it back and remembering the truth. So it was helpful for me. I feel like a million light bulbs went off in my head today. And I can relate to what Elizabeth said with the whole suffering of the ex, still coming through the other side of all that too. So it's where this comes in handy.
Thank you, Holly. Ying Ying, anything you want to share?
Oh, I just learned so much. You guys are amazing. I'm just listening to everything. Thank you so much. No, it's a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to show up and be the light for us, Ying Ying. Thank you.
Thanks.
Veronica, anything you'd like to share?
Well, this was really good for me, like just listening. And I like what you shared at the end about misperceptions. And just, I just feel calm. Like I'm not going to make a big deal over misperceptions. I'm just not going to go there. Like I'm not going to lose my peace over it. I'm just in a space of like, whatever happens, happens. And that's it. I'm in that silence and I'm kind of like in limbo here, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to enjoy the limbo. I'm going to flip the script and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the silence for as long as it lasts, which, I've been through this already. It lasts like 2 or 3 days at the most. So just enjoy the silence. And the main thing is not to let it take me away from what I was doing before this happened. Like, being with you ladies now, I'm feeling like, oh my God, like I shouldn't have stopped today because that happened yesterday. I should have kept on. Like I should have read today. And that's what I'm going to do. Like, regardless of what's going on, I shouldn't let it deter me from my studies. And that's what I got from, listening to you and all the ladies speak. So thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. And we can study our lessons every day and still be blindsided. It would be very surprising if that weren't the case. So beautiful. And I've also learned, Veronica, to embrace the limbo. Where a prior version of me would have had to get in and solve it right away because I wasn't comfortable with the limbo. And sometimes the best place for me to be is in limbo.
I'll tell you the truth, I'm fine right here. I really am. I really am. And that scares me a little bit. I'm like, am I like cold as ice? Like,
Sleep in your car tonight.
I am fine. I got my PJs over there, blanket and a pillow in the trunk. No, I'm going home after this. And
yeah.
I'll fall into my corner now.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's so funny. For the first time, Veronica, I ever did something like that where it's not, it is true. The first time I ever left and went by myself somewhere, I went and saw the movie The Bodyguard.
Nice.
It's a great movie to see in that situation.
Right?
Did you feel better?
I really don't remember. I mean,
Seems like it would scare you.
Kevin,
I'm sorry.
Seems like that would scare you, but I
Yeah.
don't know the movie, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I
just
don't
guess.
know. I don't really remember, but yeah. But I can go into limbo now without having to run somewhere. Like you went to the bay,
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was at the pool, with my other sister, and from there I came here. And what, I like to be alone. All my life I've been a loner, so I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, he's like that too. So we're both like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Anybody else? Thank you so much. Again, remember to check out our other the other material that's available for you on the Miracle Activation Center. You can either find it on the website or you can find it on the YouTube channel. And we always love to hear from you. So thank you. Have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
Great
idea,
call.
Larendee. I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
I love